One of the underdog Rolexes is now really, really hot. So welcome back to Buck and Jack. I am Adrian, and this channel is just about me exploring watches. I'm not a watch expert, I'm just a watch lover. So if you're interested in watches and we want to kind of keep up to date with what this channel's up to, hit that subscribe button down below and hit that bell icon as well so you get notifications. Today we are going to look at the Rolex Explorer II, the Polar dial. Now this is, it was the underdog of the Rolex collection. It's always known that if you want a watch that's going to increase in value, stick to Rolex sports watches in steel. And this hits that bill, but for a very, very long time, it's kind of been the underdog and it's been fairly affordable with regards to being compared to other Rolex sports watches. But now that's not the case. So when I bought my Rolex Explorer II, I sold it about 3 years ago, and I bought it probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And I bought it from a watch dealer in London called Watches of Bond Street. Quite a small shop, but they usually deal in the higher end watches, the rare Pateks and so on. If you go onto their website, you'll see they have a lot of unworn vintage pieces, which is really quite interesting. Anyway, I bought my Explorer II from them. I was on a massive hunt, and this was back when Explorer IIs were selling for about £3,000. No date subs were selling for about £3,500, and then date subs were selling for about £4,000. I'd been saving for a long time for my first Rolex, and I wanted a Submariner, but I couldn't push for it. I gave up saving. I thought I have to get a watch now, and I'd settled on the Explorer II Polar dial. It was listed for around £3,200. I emailed this watch dealer and I said, I'll offer you £2,600. Within a minute they replied saying, yeah, sure, and I just went in a couple of hours later and picked it up. Luckily for me, I was buying a fairly low value watch from someone who deals in silly money watches, like crazy high-end watches. And so that was kind of on my side. They probably just took this in as part of a bigger deal, and it's not something that they usually have in their back catalogue. One thing I will say is that when you're buying pre-owned, learn everything you can about the watch you're about to buy, because even buying from reputable dealers or dealers with the shop front, you can still get screwed over. Now, I'm not saying that these guys were trying to screw me over, but I knew what the dial should be for the era. I knew what the case should be for the era. I knew the bracelet and the clasp. And when I went into the shop, they'd switched around. I'm not saying they did it intentionally, but they had switched around the bracelet and clasp from an earlier Explorer II and put it on this version. So it just had the fold-over clasp as opposed to the locking clasp. So luckily, I'd done my research and I got them to correct it in the shop. Otherwise, I would have taken away an incorrect watch. And this is why it doesn't matter who you buy from, you must do all the research you can to make sure what you're getting is correct. A big thing around this video is about the dial detail, and that is something that you really must learn about, because you might be buying a watch from a certain era, but the dial could be a service dial, replacement dial from a completely different era, and therefore it's are you buying the right watch that you actually want? So anyway, I managed to haggle this watch down quite considerably. That was quite a hefty chunk I got off it. And I sold it a couple of years later for £2,800 on eBay. And I actually contacted the guy who bought it a couple of weeks ago, now probably about a month ago, to ask him if I could buy it back, because I do seriously want that watch back again. The money's not there. I haven't spoken to a wife about that, but I want it back. So my point is that this watch was selling for a couple of grand, and now this watch is selling for around £5,000. That is a huge jump. That is a massive jump from originally 2,600 about 5 years ago, to £5,000 now. That's a pretty hefty kind of increase. And that stuff makes me laugh. So you got the Explorer II back then was 2,600. You got the no date sub, which was around 3,500. And then you've got the date sub was around £4,000. Jump forward 5 years, all of those are selling for a shitload more. And that makes me laugh that people say you can't invest in watches or you can't make money off watches. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. You just got to know which ones to buy. I didn't know at the time that this Explorer II was going to be such a grower. If you look at the trends of today, you could kind of predict that the Explorer II was going to eventually break out. Rolex increased the case size for 42mm. Very few people like that. A lot of people prefer the 40mm. So that in itself was a good indicator that this was going to be a grower. The trend at the moment is to go towards adventure and luxury adventure. So a lot of cars manufacturers are putting out SUVs. I've just gone to Rolls-Royce. I've recorded a video at the factory of Rolls-Royce. They even have a bloody SUV. And so this trend about adventure and luxurious adventure is very much out there. That coupled with the fact that the Submariner is really very hard to get and unnecessarily expensive. You're not getting value for money when you're buying a Submariner, certainly pre-owned. So it kind of makes sense to go slightly different. And the Explorer II is an incredible watch. The fact it says Explorer in the name that alone draws me in. But it is an amazing tool watch. The GMT function, the fact it's a very capable piece with its water resistance, the fact it's got a very solid bracelet. The newer ones are far more solid, but it's still a decent bracelet. The case size is amazing. It's quite a low profile as well. It's got the date function. It's got everything that you want in a watch as an everyday use, but also something that can take you around the world. So all of that coupled, it kind of makes sense. This kind of increase in demand for it. You could have predicted it. So let's look at what is the actual watch that is hot right now. Because the Explorer II ran for a very, very long time and it's still going in its new version. So the Explorer II that is a super hot one at the moment is the one with the Swiss only dial. What this means is that it's a dial that has Luminova as the material for the lume. It also means that it was only produced in 1999. Now, as always with Rolex, there's a bleed-in period, a kind of a transition period in and out of changes. In 1998, Rolex transitioned from using tritium as a lume material to using Luminova in 1999. And then in the year 2000, they transitioned from Luminova to Superluminova. You can very easily tell this on the dial. A tritium dial has T less than 25 on the bottom. A Luminova dial says Swiss, and this is called the Swiss only dial because it only says Swiss. And then the Superluminova dial has Swiss made at the bottom. Now, this is what I was talking about at the start around doing research and learning about what it is you're actually after. Because you could go ahead and buy an Explorer II from 1999 thinking that you're getting this fairly, not rare, but kind of rarer than all the other dials. But it's actually got a service dial that says Swiss made at the bottom, so it's completely pointless. So what you want to look for is that it only says Swiss, and obviously box and papers and all that stuff helps. You do need to make sure that everything else is correct for that year as well. The fact of the bracelet, the clasp, and all that stuff. So it's quite cool that this one watch is kind of making a name for itself. Now, the funny thing about this watch being so hot at the moment is it actually has a sloppy movement inside. It has the caliber 3185, which, although it was around for nearly 2 decades, it was introduced, I think, in 1988 and was phased out around 2005. It was known to be quite sloppy, and I do remember this movement being quite sloppy. When you change the time, the hour hand wobbles a little bit. It unintentionally wobbles, not when you're trying to change it. And it just feels a little sloppy and just not too tight. In 2005, they launched a caliber 3186, and that was a far more refined movement. Had a new updated hairspring as well, but kind of more importantly from a user's point of view is the fact that when you change the time, it was a lot more exact and it kind of snapped. The 3185 caliber was the same one that was used in the GMT Master II. So you're getting a lot of watch making for less money because the GMT Master II is an expensive watch in comparison to the Explorer II. It kind of shows that movement's kind of secondary. I feel movement's the secondary to the way the watch looks and the dial design. And the fact that this Swiss-only dial is so hot right now, it kind of proves a point that other people feel the same, that movement is secondary. So that's my video. The Explorer II reference 16570 Polar dial, Swiss-only Polar dial, is really hot right now. I hate the fact I sold mine for £2,800. I could have sold it for nearly double that right now. But shit happens. And it also proves the point that you can make money out of watches. You just need to know what you're doing. And this isn't financial advice. I'd never do that. But it's kind of investing in shares. If someone was to ask me, should I invest in shares? No, don't invest in shares. Should I trade Forex? No, don't trade Forex. Go figure it out for yourself. Go see if that actually works. Someone asked me, should I invest in this watch? You need to figure out whether you want to invest in that watch. If you ask someone else for investment advice, you're investing in them as opposed to investing in the actual end vehicle. You just need to do your own research and figure things out for yourself. Otherwise, just go to a financial advisor as opposed to asking. I get so many emails from people asking me, should I invest in this or that? So it's your money. You need to figure out what you're going to do. If it was, I can tell you what I would do, but well, I'm not telling you what you should do. You can't make money off watches, you just need to know what you're doing. You can make money off shares, you need to know what you're doing. This is turning into a completely different video. I'm going to do a video around investing in watches. Anyway, guys, I'm going to quit the rambling and I'll let you guys go. I'd like to say a big thanks to the Watch Dude 2 on Instagram. Thanks for letting me use your photographs. He's a great guy, I know him in real life, a really nice chap and fantastic photographer. He's one of the guys who I follow who's bought a Swiss-only dial Explorer 2. Let me know what you guys think about the Explorer 2 and this Swiss-only dial. And let me know what you think about the whole movement secondary to dial design or overall design, because I do feel like the design of a watch is more important than the movement. If you're new here, do hit subscribe down the bottom so you don't miss future videos that I put out. If you want to support the channel, jump over to barkandjack.com and go pick up a NATO strap. I've got 20mm and 22mm straps now. Check me out on Instagram at barkandjack, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.